They're tight. There's no room on the thing. That's the worst part.
Well, we'll only try to fix the one.
We'll see if it's right for it.
Stainless, so they usually outlast the factory ones by a lot.
That is for sure.
We got here, anything in?
Yeah.
Business going on?
No fever. Myself and kids. You know what's coming. It's this time of year.
All right.
Feeling all right?
We'll call the meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have the minutes from August 21st. We have a motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
Motion to approve is written.
Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And then we have the minutes from August 22nd. Do we have a motion?
I'll move them.
Was that on the same one, Corey?
No.
Separate.
No.
That one was separate, okay, I'm just cut off here. From August 22nd, we have a motion, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The minutes from September 4th. We have a motion. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the minutes from September 11th. We have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Corey has been busy. All right, we are up to public comment. Any public comment? Oh, sorry.
My name is Lorraine Davila, and I guess it's more of a suggestion. Sometimes when the public comes to speak, because we're projecting this way, it's hard to be in the audience and hear what's being said. And I was wondering if it was possible that you can use microphones and speakers so that we can hear what's being said in the back. Because the last meeting I was able to attend, there was public comment, and I couldn't hear what was being said.
Okay.
My other suggestion would be, could we move public comment further down the line towards the end, because the last meeting I had a medical emergency, so I was not here. The meeting before that, I had no public comment in the beginning, but as the meeting went on, I had all these comments, but I can't say anything until the next meeting, which then I had a medical emergency, and then now it's so far later that it's almost irrelevant. And so I was wondering if there's any way that we can move public comment further down the line so that if something comes up in the meeting, we can say something at the meeting. Those were, if you can take those two suggestions into consideration.
We will, and just so you know, if you do have any concerns, you're more than welcome to contact the school at any time with those concerns. If it's a board thing, you can get that information to us. We just established a email, right? Is that all set up now? That'll be placed on the website, or is it going?
It's not quite.
Okay, so either way, if you contact Corey, she can get the information to us as well.
Oh, okay, but you set up an email specifically for the board?
Yeah, so it'll
Okay. Coming up.
be easier for people to contact the board through one email.
Okay. Okay, those were my suggestions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. Where are we on the permanent hiring? Is it posted for, high school and middle school principals yet?
We haven't posted for the permanent ones as yet.
Okay.
I'm still waiting for the board to finish with some issues that they need to take care of, and we're trying to take care of a couple other pieces inside the district, inside the buildings, and, you know, I'm awaiting an opportunity. I'm waiting for them to tell me when to get going on it. So.
And also, what stipends come with, principals that we are, like interim superintendent and principals? What stipends comes along with that? Like, we pay mileage every day as taxpayers?
There is mileage. Not, I don't take mileage, but as part of the stipend
Right.
for the building principals, there is a mileage piece in that. They do have a day rate, which I think I can release, right?
we were
Which
through there.
I understand all the day rate. I guess I'm just really concerned about the future of WCS's programs with paying out this amount of money continuously, and still the jobs are not posted for permanent hiring.
Sure.
I have kids here who have to go through education through high school, and the education part is a huge deal. When programs are gonna have to get cut next year or whatever is a huge concern.
Well, we understand that, but it's not something that we can really, we don't want to rush into that neither. We feel that these two gentlemen are doing an excellent job, you know, filling in for us right now, but we are proceeding with that, but it's just not something that we can rush into.
Okay.
And if I may, just as a budgetary standpoint, I mean, you would be paying a high school principal, and the amount that you're paying an interim principal is comparable, if not even perhaps, it's comparable. It's comparable to the day rate of what you were paying a high school principal if you were to work that out.
I don't really think that some people make $650 a day.
Well, that's not the high school principal,
No,
that's
it's not.
superintendent.
You're right, but $350 a day, that's what we paid, $450 a day in mileage? I don't think so, I'm sorry. I can look up, I'll have exact numbers of what our Mr. Knusky, all our principals were making, and I can guarantee it's not comparable to $450 a day plus mileage.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
You said you didn't want to rush into replacing the principal, like permanent?
Well, it's not something that we
Shouldn't you
can,
have had your ducks in a row before this all started?
what do you mean ducks in a row?
And if you knew something was gonna happen like what's happening, start taking applications for a principal before you kick people out or get rid of people.
Oh, that certainly didn't happen here. We received resignations. Upon those resignations, that prompted the board to move forward now. So we've been into school, how many weeks now? We're up to 4 weeks. So we are proceeding with that, though.
No, my only other question is, can I get a copy of that? I'm a firm believer of that conflict of interest thing, and you guys said Mr. Wood answered for you that day. You signed a paper between the board members about conflict of interest,
You have a blank form that you could, yeah, Corey could have that available for you.
but in a sense, you're pulling yourself out of a vote if there's conflict? Is that what that paper says?
If there's a conflict, we have to address that conflict. We have to let other people know on the board that there could be a conflict.
But you still can vote?
It depends on the circumstances. It depends on the circumstances.
Can I get a copy of that paper you signed sometime if I come over to school? Or-
Sure, Corey will have it available for you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? No? Okay. We have new faculty. Gonna introduce,
Who's up, Tim?
Glad to. It gives me great pleasure to introduce
Erin Jankowiak. And she's new to the Walton Middle School, but she's not new to teaching. Erin attended SUNY Brockport, and upon graduation, she worked as a substitute teacher for 6 years in the Buffalo area before coming here.
Wow.
She is certified in elementary education, and she teaches 6th grade social studies and technology. She's also certified to teach students with learning disabilities and certified in earth science and general science. In addition to the rich experience in classroom teaching, she really brings great enthusiasm. And you know what I should have said? Erin, would you please stand up? Say hello to the people around.
Welcome, Erin.
You can see, she brings not only enthusiasm, but $1 million smile. A well-organized classroom. I've been in her classroom a few times now. She feels picked on. But she does, you know, there is a real teacher in the room. You get that feeling as a principal when you walk in there. Things are organized, kids are working, kids are learning, and kids like being in school. That's what we want. So there's Erin Jankowiak, right?
You got it.
Thank you. There's a W in there, but it's pronounced with a V.
Okay. Well,
Hi, I'm Tara Sackett. This is Noelle Granger. She comes to us from Franklin after 18 years of experience. She's middle school special ed and teaching 15-1 math. And I really think that WCS is very, very lucky that we got her. So, you know, hard it is to come by a good teacher. And she's going to say a few words too.
Oh, I am.
Yeah.
She's not letting me off the hook. So I taught in Franklin, as she said, for 18 years. I've taught 7th through 12th grade in Franklin. So I have a lot of experience across the board, but I'm very happy to be at the middle school level and able to focus on one grade level. And I also ran the Alternative to Violence program in Franklin, and I'm really excited to be working with Christina Hewitt here to continue our program here. So
wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, welcome to both of you.
Welcome home, Noel.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, and she's right here.
All right, we are up to, and I know you probably have tons of work to do, so don't feel pressured that you have to stay. We understand. Discussion items.
You go first.
Okay, Mr. Thomas and I will be attending the School Board Institute. If there is anyone else that wants to attend, let us know. Or let Corey know.
Right, I need to RSVP by Friday.
Okay, so please do that by Friday. I don't know if we have any other takers. And let's see here. Oh, did everyone have a chance to look over the state trooper response? Do we have does anybody object to that? Or do we have a consensus? I think it's a wonderful.
No reason not to.
All right.
Thank you.
I think that's excellent. I see Sydney just had, it was in the paper today, they just had a.
Lockdown.
Yep, I don't think so.
I think we're working on putting a lockdown together, right? That sort of thing. Yep.
All right, after our last meeting, we had a curriculum committee meeting, and I found that very informative. I know Jane is going to do a presentation in a little bit, so I won't touch too much on it. But what I did not know, and correct me if I say something wrong, with the testing, if, and this is totally, you know, a parent's option, but with the testing, if a student opts out of the testing, when they do the formula, so the other students could do quite well and they're given points, you know, for whatever level they may achieve. But if the students opt out, it brings our numbers down, of course, but the formula is based on the total enrollment. I guess I was not aware of that. And I know Mr. Snyder had talked about it, I think it was last year you had brought it up, that what's even worse is if a student starts the testing on one day and then opts out another day, that the impact that that has to the district is unbelievable. So I found that very informative. So it was a good committee meeting. And she has a lot more, I know, that she's going to be discussing. All right, we are up to 5, correspondence. I don't believe we have any, right? No. All right. And actually, Jane, number 6, presentations.
I'll stand over here. Thank you. Yes, we had a really good meeting. Earlier on in August, I went off to Albany and spent a couple of days with State Ed going over the new accountability system. And they didn't really give us much chance to, kind of debate because it's already started. We're already accountable. The 17-18 state testing, that counts as our base year. So we've got quite a few changes that are coming, and I just wanted to make you aware of how we're going to be held accountable by the state. I think there was a lot of outcry from parents and teachers about the state tests, that how unfair they were. And so the state listened, and they've taken the consequences away from the teachers. So the teachers' APPR is no longer linked to the state tests. So it's very important that everybody knows that, and the state listened. They also shortened the testing, so instead of 3 days, it's now 2 days. They brought parents in, and what they did was kind of redesign both the tests and the standards as well. And they're bringing in a new set of standards called the Next Generation Standards, but this time they're bringing it in 3 years instead of kind of just like forcing it on teachers as they did originally. So a lot has changed, and the accountability system is no longer just about the state tests. We're going to be, of course, accountable for student academic achievement. So the only, that's the state tests in the elementary and the middle school, but that's also Regents achievement and things like advanced placement and all kinds of achievement we're going to be held accountable for. We're going to be held accountable for student growth. And that's really just the elementary and middle school, for academic progress, all schools, graduation rate for the high school, and I think that is excellent. We had a very good raise in graduation rate. We've gone up by 10% over the last 3 years, so I think that alone will bring us out of the focus status that we were in for the high school. They're very focused on English language proficiency. Currently, we only have 4 children who are classified as ELLs within the district, so that doesn't really affect us because what the state are looking for are a cohort of 30 students. So if we have 30 ELLs, then we would be held responsible. So they don't count. Chronic absenteeism is something that does count against us. It did not this year, but it will do, last year, 17-18, but it will count against us next year. And that is something that I was at a meeting yesterday morning with the high school guidance counselor and the principal, and that's something that we really recognize and we really have to do, kind of something about it. We have to help children to want to come to school. The final category is college, career and civic readiness, which is a very complicated category, when you start to get your head round it, it's basically the types of programs that we offer for children. So, whether it be an AP program, or any kind of BOCES program, they all count towards that civic readiness. So we get, at each stage, we get points awarded. It's a very, very complicated system. The mathematics alone took 2 days to get my head round, and they've published at the moment a guidance paper which itself is 6 pages long, and that's the mathematical formula. So at the end of the academic period, they're going to classify schools into, categories. There are going to be recognition schools. There currently are recognition schools. Recognition schools at the moment are high-performing schools, and they are rapidly improving. And then we've got schools in good standing, and these are schools that are not, that have students proficient in each one of those categories, and the district has a graduation rate of above 67%, which we know that we do too. And then they become targeted support and improvement schools, or TSIs. And a TSI school is a school with one subgroup of students, that's that cohort of 30 students who are underperforming. We currently don't have any of their categories. We don't have 30 students in any of their categories. So it could be, ELLs would be one category, students who are in the military, or parents who are in the military, that would be another category, and there's a whole slew of categories that don't apply to us. And the final cohort, the final group would be comprehensive support and improvement schools, and that is where everybody in the school is really underperforming. And just because we are where we are, a rural school district, that's the category that we would come into, because basically most of the children are white, and that's it, they fall into that category. So that's those are the categories. Schools in good standing and recognition schools, there are no rewards, there's no funding that's associated with that, whereas there was before. We have no idea yet what kind of category we fall in, each of the 3 schools. We don't know, we won't know till the end of October. So we have no idea whether funding for professional development or anything goes with that. However, what the state has done is extend their Title 1A program for schools in need of improvement. They've carried that over for a year, so we received $150,000 last year, and so what they've done is given us another $150,000 for this year, because they can't categorise the schools and decide on how they're funding. So that'll just tide us over with the programmes that we started last year. We can continue with those, we can continue with our consultants, we can continue with the professional development, and we can continue with the initiatives that we set up last year. So that was good news. So how are they going to measure how successful we are? Well, the goals are going to change annually. So we're actually sitting on a moving target. We'll never achieve our goals because they'll increase our goals by 20% every single year. They'll go on a 5-year cycle, and they'll improve the goals by 20% every year. And as we move closer to that goal, they'll call those a measure of interim progress. And those measures of interim progress themselves will change. So we're going to have actually 2 goals. One's a state goal and one is a district goal for each of those categories. And if we meet either of that goals, all that changes is that they move the goal another 20% away from us. So we'll never, you don't hit the goal at all. So just to let you know though that, and this is what Rhonda was talking about, participation rate in the state tests will count for us. The state receives federal funding for participation in those tests. They're a federal test. It's got nothing to do with New York State. If we want funding for our schools, then New York State has to, have 95% of children taking the test. So that effectively means that every school has to have 95% of the children taking the test. So last year we had about 50% of the children who were eligible for the test took the test. So of course that goal is going to increase by 20%, and hopefully we could, one day get to the 95%. However, if it takes us more than 5 years, there are consequences for that, and it will affect the Title 1A funding. So eventually, if we don't hit that goal, then that funding will, they'll start to penalise us. There's a 3-year cycle within that 5 years. It's a very complicated mathematical formula, which is why they probably haven't sent us the results yet. The very good news is that they're going to look for the first time at our 4-, 5-, and 6-year graduation rates. Because it doesn't, some kids take a little bit longer to accumulate the scores that they need to graduate. And so that's a really nice thing that they're doing, is in helping us and giving us credit for helping children over that longer period to get to graduation. They're looking at this college and career readiness of high school students, and that basically is how many kids passed with mastery in the regents, how many kids got AP courses. They're looking at, they do count NISA, the alternative assessments. They do count lots of other tests that our kids take if they can't take regular regents exams. All of those count. So that's a really good thing, and I'm very confident that Walton will do well, because we offer an awful lot for our children. They are going to look, eventually, and this will start this year, they're going to look at chronic absenteeism. And chronic absenteeism is a student who is absent more than 10% of the time. So it could be any time frame, even 10 days. If they are absent 1 day out of 10, that's their 10%, and that counts against us. So we have to really keep a close eye on that. So basically those are the measures. That's how we're going to be held accountable. So if we can't hit that 95% testing rate, then in 3 years' time, which is the end of the first 3-year cycle, we will have to produce a plan that will go to the state to tell them how we are going to improve the testing rate. And if we don't do that, then they're going to kind of start on this series of consequences that are going to affect the school, and if we still don't improve, then it's the Title I funding. The Title I funding currently supports, I think it's 6 elementary school teachers in AIS, and that's academic intervention services, and supports such as computer supports in the classroom for children. That's down the road. So
that's a huge impact.
It would be a huge impact, but I know that over the years we've been creeping up slightly with our participation rate, so I'm pretty confident that we'll get to that stage. Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, so we are up to 7 additions to the agenda.
Yes, we have a few more appointments that would be added to new business item 9D, personnel emergency appointments. Currently, that item is appointing Mr. Robinson as the safety officer, and then also as a new incident position, streaming service technician. But the additions to the agenda would subsequently appoint him to the district safety committee as the committee chair, and the elementary and middle school, high school district incident teams. Those are both tied to the safety officer appointment. And also, we need to have alternates for all of our district incident team positions. And so we are proposing adding Jamie Aubin to the elementary school and Samantha Speck to the middle school, high school.
And those are SED, New York State SED
Right.
requirements. All right, so consent agenda. That is going to cover our financial reports and our budget transfers, disposal of records. I think there was only, those were just bubble testing things.
Bubble testing, right.
Yeah, sheets,
those
is
are
that what that is?
sheets
Answer
that- yes.
sheets?
Bubble answer
Alright,
sheets
there
for
we go.
2016.
Right, and also
ELA
some
and math, and then
backup
some assessment
work.
materials from 2011, so.
20 and 11 and earlier.
Okay. And then we have resignation, Laura Hitt, and we also have emergency appointment, which Laura resigning from full-time position but coming back as a substitute. Food service worker, custodial worker, and bus monitor. And then also personnel appointments, appointing Jared Bartlett to substitute custodial worker and Sammy Conklin as volunteer in the cafeteria.
At Townsend School.
At Townsend School, yeah. And then we also have lead teacher, APPR evaluators. And then our athletic recommendations.
And these, the athletic recommendations are chaperones, and all of those people are already appointed as like a ticket taker or scorekeeper. Also adding Justin and Leah, and we will be bringing more forward at the next meeting.
Okay. So do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, and that puts us up to the new business. The establishment of a Townsend School Agricultural Club. I read through that. That is going to be amazing for those kids. That is going to be so much fun. Do we have a motion?
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And then we are up to 9B, established streaming service position.
And substitute.
Yes, I'm
Substitute
sorry,
change,
and
$25.
substitute $25 an hour. Sorry about that. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And then we have a donation, this is $117.50 to the Walton FFA, and this is from the Zotis Industry Support Program. A motion to accept that donation?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And then this is the 90 that Corey just covered on the emergency appointments. Rick Robinson, Jamie Aubin, and Samantha Schwartz.
I'd move it.
All in favor, or I'm sorry, second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, and we are up to 10 old business. All right, and this is the appointment of Jennifer Bartlett, and this is going back to,
The first day she was
First day.
actually here.
she was already,
The original appointment was for after that because we had a person who had resigned and we thought we knew about that, and so we had her in as a sub at the time, but we had to wait for the resignation to come through and everything, so I asked the board to adjust the appointment basically back to the first day that she was actually here and performing full-time teacher function.
yep. All right. Do we have a
Make that
motion?
motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And then this is to rescind the emergency appointment from the original September 4th meeting for that position. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, and we are up to administrative remarks.
So I'll maybe start with Mike, and maybe everybody can give a couple minutes again.
Okay. Thanks for approving the agriculture club. I think that's going to be a lot of fun as we develop it. It's going to take us about a month to get it on its feet, and in November, I'm hoping to have the first meeting. Then we'll see how it goes. We've got to do some indoor growing, and then work toward having, the idea is to have some raised beds at the elementary school, to do some things like that. And so it'll take on a life of its own as we find out where our options are, people who can help us, and move forward with that. Otherwise, we've had a good start. We're just carrying on. We're into the month of October.
I don't see you having a problem getting volunteers for that.
I don't think so.
That is great.
The middle school is, I'm off and running. I'm visiting classrooms, people on task, working through the curriculum, getting things moving. We're almost to the end of the first 5 weeks. My time is between visiting classrooms and handling discipline and learning some of the technology that we're doing, that we use here, systems that we use, that really make the job move smoothly when you get to know it. I'm still excited about being here, and the really good teaching that I see from class to class to class, 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. Some things I can take care of with a couple of clicks, ordering the math tests, ordering the science tests. Those things, I get some numbers here and I go on the portal and remember my password. If I don't, my memory is sitting over there in the corner. But we get on and take care of those things. Discipline, there's the thing that, because Deb Little is with us and she works on what can we do for this child. It isn't just about punishment, consequences. It isn't just about that. There are consequences for behaviors, but we're trying to be consistent, handle things, and talk about how we can help kids. Mm-hmm. And one thing I did want to point out, it really, after talking with Mark Dubra, we have our 6th graders raising the flag. Teams of 3 will go out in the morning and raise the flag, and more importantly, in the evening, when we lower the flag, they'll lower it properly, they'll fold it as it should be, and they'll learn a little bit about flag etiquette. I think it's important to build on that, where kids remember with pride that it is our flag.
Very nice.
I think it's important. That's one way to learn it. And I know it's a good idea because an 8th grader said, how come we didn't do it when I was? Somebody once said that Einstein had all the mathematics that he could have had to prove any of the theories that they're coming up with now. Somebody said, well, why didn't he do it? And it's because you can't think of everything. And that's just about it. We're working on it. And the idea was not mine. Mark was talking about it and brought the idea forward. He said he had done it at another school, and it is just great. The teachers jumped on it, and the kids love it. They get to go up early, get out there.
Very nice.
Well, I've been here 3 weeks today, and I've had an opportunity to get to meet individually with all the teachers. I think I've hit everyone now. And to have a chance to get a sense of them as a person before I start dealing with some of the businesses, dealing with evaluations and stuff like that. I've been dealing with some discipline issues as well. It's been an interesting experience thus far, trying to adjust to new technology. It's changed a little bit since the last time I was dealing with this regularly, but it's going reasonably well. It's really a small number of kids that we're dealing with that. And I mean, I will say one thing that I had the opportunity to experience the Walton homecoming parade to coronation at the ball that they have for the homecoming ball, and it was quite a remarkable experience. It's a community initiative, and I didn't have quite the sense of how much community is involved in this, but it was a good day. I gotta tell you, I slept well that night. But it was good. I like the environment here. It kind of reminds me of being in school when I was in high school a little bit. I come from a rural environment, and people have rural initiatives and rural thoughts, and it's good. We've experienced a little bit of difficulty recently with some of our busing, especially in the morning. And with Mr. Williams' help, we worked out a plan to kind of keep the buses in line with the lights on, so we don't have anybody driving against the traffic of the buses. That was happening with too much regularity. And I think we have a system now. It's not perfect, but it's better than it was. And the end is to make things safer for everybody. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my synopsis for week number 3.
Good.
It's Bet's Day tomorrow. So tomorrow we count everything in the school, from teachers to library books.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Send that off to state.
So in the office these days, we're going to be converting into a upgraded software package for our financial that happens next week. So we'll go to the newest version of Envision. Hopefully that goes smoothly and goes well. It's like somebody takes your lifeline and says, "Oh, we're just going to change it. It'll be okay." But it'll be all right. The other thing we're working on is end of the year stuff, ST3 SAM's reports. I think you guys get reports saying that we haven't turned them in the timetable that they want. Well, we're working on it. We'll get them out. Same thing with the annual financial report. That's almost finished, and we'll get that out as well. Part of this is also working on some processes behind the scenes so that we don't have to do as much year-end work. Right now there's an awful lot of stuff that gets left to the end to try to recategorize and whatnot, so we're going to try to streamline that so that doesn't happen and things go a little more quickly. One thing I'll address, Mr. Thomas was probably going to mention it as well, but we had a question on the tax receipts coming back. I don't have a solid answer for you yet. I called up there, but the person I needed to speak with had left already by the time I called. So I'll follow up with that tomorrow. Let them know how important it is to get that out in a timely fashion.
Okay, and just to add to the lateness of the tax bills, I actually was in the process of starting to draft a letter and maybe have other school districts join in to show support to send to Delhi to say, hey, what can you do so this delay doesn't happen again? The county beat me to it. They actually drafted a resolution, and in the future, any assessor from a township that does not get their roll in on time, that township will be fined $1,000 per day until that roll is received. So hopefully moving forward, we will not have that delay in the tax bills getting processed, but then we won't have that delay in that revenue coming, to the school district. So they addressed it.
That's great.
So yes, I know you'd like to hear that.
Adam?
Things are going smooth in the world of special education. Little bumps here or there, but nothing too huge.
Here.
So I won't go back to the busing thing, and I won't go back to the receipt thing. And thanks for all of these folks having such great ideas, whether it be the club or traffic patterns or the flag. I mean, those are all just great little things that add to us, I think, in our students' experience here. I will tell you, today was my first community meeting. And so I was actually in here 3 times today, including this one. One was with the community meeting, one was with negotiations, and then this meeting here. That was a fun meeting. We went around the table and kind of reported out to each other. A couple of you were actually here, and in different capacities. And I got to meet a few other folks in town, and so it was a great experience for me. We will meet monthly. And the agenda is very broad. Basically, it's everybody is reporting out important pieces for the area that they represent and sharing information. Student drop-off, went past that. There was an article in the Daily Star, I think 2 days ago, on declining enrollment in rural schools. I don't know if anybody saw that, but so there's some concern about that. I know that the BOCES has a program that they're trying to start up with the component schools to, I believe, make the area more attractive and to businesses, small businesses, to stay in rural New York and upstate New York, and to make sure that there's a connection between the students being trained and those businesses. I'll give you some more information on that at another meeting, but seeing that article made me think about that program and the task force that is working on that. The task force isn't just the BOCES superintendents, but there are also some business representatives. I know Cliff Crouch was there the other day when we talked about it. Jim Seward is also, and I just forgot his name, the senator down from Binghamton. Akshar. Yes, thank you very much. It just went right away from me.
Hopefully he's not watching.
Yeah, hopefully it's not catching anybody. So I also wanted to just briefly mention that in this month's AASA school administrator, there's an article about a fellow that some of you may know by the name of John Evans, and his here he is at his desk. And at one of his desks, I should say. You know that He's a shared superintendent, and the article was on the ups and downs of that, and what schools need to look out for, and what works and what may not, and those kinds of things. So just interesting, and right outside our boundary here. And I spoke with John just the other day, coincidentally, when I was the BOCES superintendent. He was one of my superintendents too, so he started all of that while I was there. I did meet with the WTA. We have a monthly meeting and talked about concerns that they may have or issues so that they don't become issues for us, items that so that they don't become issues. And we have a pretty good dialogue, I believe, going at this point. We also, as I said earlier, met today with negotiations, and I would like to take a couple minutes in executive session to just give you a report out on that, and I won't spend a lot of time with it, but I feel like I should at least give you some report about that. And my last piece is just is about the policy books. A couple of you, I see that you've got them there with you. I was hoping that at our meeting of the 16th, we could perhaps talk about the zeros. There's a section in there of zeros. There's 7 policies. A couple of them are a little bit long, but it's only 7 policies, and I was hoping that we could talk about those at our meeting. I hope it won't go too long, but get ourselves rolling on this process a little bit. So
we don't have to go through all these in one meeting?
No.
We're good? Just the zeros?
I'd love it if we could do that, but I'll tell you, I get a little tired reading through some of them myself, so I think 7 is probably plenty for now to get us going.
What are the expectations? We're going to go through the zeros and then officially bring them to the board? So we're going to review them once, twice? What do we...
Well, my understanding is that the board has a current policy where you do 2 readings, and so you do 1 reading with comments and make it your official reading, and then at the second meeting you do a second reading and you can approve it at that time. My thought is that we would take the book in chunks. There are some sections that are much longer than the zeros, and maybe there might be 40 policies in that, and I figure we could break those out into maybe 3 different meetings or whatever it may be. But ultimately, talking with Corey and my own experience in the past is that hopefully we would have a new book that the subcommittee is happy with, that the board is happy with, and that you would approve in toto at your organizational meeting in July, or another date if it just doesn't work out that way. I'm kind of visioning July.
So I was thinking more of if you have the sections, section by section, I was more concerned about the policies they replace, how that's going to work. Do you have to officially remove the old policies, or are we gonna try to do it as a book? The old policies are out and new book in.
Because the proposed numbers by NYSBA do not correlate totally with our current policies, I think you could have your readings ahead of time, but I strongly suggest adopting the book in total.
As a book, okay.
Right.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Get reading.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we do have a need for executive session for the purpose of discussing a matter pertaining to a particular employee and negotiations. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right. And I just realized there's no students, right? Okay. I forgot to announce if there was any students in the beginning. But you're slipping. He usually reminds me of that. So, all right.
And may I say one thing? Mr. Robinson informed me during the meeting that your email is ready.
It is.
It
Okay,
is.
and that's
It's BOE@waltoncSD.org.
okay.
And that'll be on the website.
We will promote that.
Okay, good. BOE@waltoncsd.org. Okay. Wonderful, thank you. All right, thank you for coming.
Ron, would that be you that's gonna answer that, or all of you are gonna look at it? I'm just curious, the email, sorry, but as it being new,
Yeah.
you email it?
It's gonna go to Corey first, and then Corey will disperse it.
And we would know if we've got a response, who was responding to us? Like if you, something to think about, I
Yeah.
don't know. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, who are we gonna know who we're talking to?
Well, I will respond initially that I've
Right.
received the email,
Okay.
and then I'll forward it on.
Yep.
Okay.